We're taking a look at that NSG report. That is the Business Consumer Monitor report to see what's happened. It's a BCM report released by the NESG. When NES means actually the Nigerian Economic Summit Group. Now, joining me virtually to further discuss this is Mukhtar Shamwil. He's a financial and geopolitical strategist. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Eb. Good morning, ma'am. How are you today?
Fine, thank you. How are you doing?
Well, I'm good, thank you. Alhamdulillah. Thank you.
All right. Let's start off with that report. I'm just going to read out, some of the things from that report. Now, according to the NESG, the Business Confidence Monitor, not consumer, the cost of doing business index surged to 90.5 points in January, up dramatically from 54.7 points in December 2025. That's roughly, give or take, about 35 points, about 8 points actually for us to get that. And this jump reflects a significant increase in operating costs for Nigerian firms across key sectors. Now, what is driving the increase, according to them, is the new tax reforms, fuel price adjustments, persistent inflationary pressures. Do you agree with their reasons of what could be driving this this increase?
All right, thank you very much. First of all, these numbers don't necessarily. I just find these numbers as numbers. I don't necessarily agree with the whole entire economic model that churns out these numbers, because I don't feel it, and people on the street don't feel it. We've been on this same economic practice and economic model for a very long time. I think we should be able to tell if these PowerPoint economic numbers really translate into actual economic activities on the ground. But I do understand that for economic, corporate, and civil reasons, or for record keeping, we need to continue with these practices. But in reality, I don't necessarily really, these numbers don't really mean much to me. So that's all I can say regarding the numbers. I call it PowerPoint economics, because that's really where all these numbers make sense. Other than PowerPoint, these numbers don't necessarily make sense to me. Economics is a social reality. It's a reality based on what I do, what you do, what everyone around us does. I mean, economics is social interaction. So if these numbers don't necessarily translate to social realities, we've been doing it for a very long time. I really don't have much to say other than that regarding the numbers that you've just mentioned.
Okay, so if I understand you correctly, so I'm going to ask you this question plainly. Do you think that the cost of doing business in Nigeria has increased, or has it decreased so far?
Absolutely. The cost of doing business in Nigeria has been increasing. I'm not gonna really take any number that says, oh, the cost has been decreasing for any reason. I mean, if look, we all feel it, most especially with the really introduction of the new taxation system. Look, I have nothing wrong with a good taxation system. All Nigerians want good taxation systems if it would really impact on their lives. But the current taxation system is actually as a result of structural imbalance in the economic system. So we practice what's called modern money theory, which is like an extension of the neoliberal economic system. For Nigeria to structurally hold economically, we need to tax. So, I mean, that's the reason why it does not really matter what KPMG or anyone says. The government would have to proceed to tax people, because the current economic system requires the government to continue to tax people, to balance the books. But I believe there are other alternatives, but I don't think the government will consider these alternatives. Now, because of the structural problem, Nigerians would have to continue to pay the price. The cost of doing business would continue to go up. The inflation is really not really dropping down. Well, food inflation that's because of obviously the large importation that we've seen. But what has that done to the agricultural sector? So you see, these are all issues that we have to sit and discuss holistically, because there is actually a structural problem, which is what I hope we would be able to discuss on and put out in this program. So yeah, my answer is the cost of doing business has been going up, and structurally the cost of doing business would continue to go up. Under this current economic system or current general political economic system, the cost of business would continue to go up irrespective of what government does, because I mean, the reality on ground is the reality on ground. The numbers would not change that.
All right, now, one of the key things that were mentioned as the reason for this increase in cost of doing business is that fuel price adjustments. Now, how is that actually undermining business competitiveness, especially for those who are in the energy sector? If we're going to take a look at, how we see what the Dangote and NNPC keep doing, or it's up today, it's down tomorrow, how does that fuel price adjustments, consistent changing, affect business competitiveness in Nigeria?
All right. Okay. So, I mean, the price of energy. So, in classical economics, we have three factors of production, right? Land, labor, and capital. But I mean, in modern system, would have to add energy, would have to add data. So, if these are like factors of production, then the whole idea of having these factors of production in private hands really creates what's called a natural monopoly, right? So, in essence, we are seeing an increase in what's called like a rentier economy, where the private sector that's interfacing with this monopolistic let me say, controlling heights of a modern economy. If we have the private sector leading in this, and and we have government failing in this regard, then what we are going to see is obviously an increase in cost of energy, which translates into increase in cost of doing business in Nigeria. So, in a nutshell, I mean, asking Nigerians to buy fuel at about 800 naira per liter, despite the already increasing inflation all across every single sector of the economy, is just economic crippling. I mean, look at history. I mean, most countries in the world, or I wouldn't want to say all countries in the world, but most countries that have industrialized throughout history have industrialized by subsidizing energy and infrastructure. And Nigeria has done neither of this. If we are to make money off energy, if direct profit should come out of generating and distributing electricity, energy, or oil and gas, in that, which is also an extension of the electricity itself, because most of the electricity we consume is actually hydro and thermal. So after hydro, we have thermal next. So the cost of now running transportation and every other thing, which adds now to the cost of doing business. If we look at things holistically, Nigeria is at a position where we cannot say, oh, okay, we are going to have intermediaries who would make profit off it before it translates into actual economic output for the country. That's not possible. Energy, making profit off energy has to be an extension or like an advantage or profit that comes out of the businesses that have happened to make the economic grow. So if you have subsidized energy and the businesses grow, businesses thrive, then you definitely be able to tax these businesses more, and in return, government will be able to generate more money. But making energy itself, like the good in itself, like providing energy itself as the means to generate profit in a country like Nigeria, where things are still low, down and under, I think it would definitely continue to translate into high cost of doing business.
Now, with this report from the NESG talking about the cost of business increasing, in Nigeria, can we actually have some sort of quantification on outlook of how 2026 is likely to go, seeing as, earlier in the story, according to that same report, the agri sector shrunk, and we know the food inflation has a weight effect, overhead inflation at the end of the day. Hopefully we'll see what will happen when the MPC has their meeting this month, hopefully. Do you think that we could have some projections, and do you think they're positive for 2026 for the Nigerian economy?
I think 2026 would be a much harder economy, because Nigeria is not a country in isolation. Nigeria is part of a global village, and 2026 is really going to be challenging for the whole world. We are already seeing a lot of disruptive activities. I mean, we have seen the little improvement in the price of the naira against the dollar, but that's not necessarily due to some economic activities that happen in Nigeria. It's actually due to the devaluation of the dollar itself on a global stage. So And I really don't think 2026 would present any. I mean, let's even talk about inflation and the political activities that we are about to witness in 2026. 2026 would be a political year where we're going to see a lot of election campaigns, and what that means is a lot of distribution of palliatives and funds in all sorts of ways, legally, illegally, directly, indirectly, and this would obviously add to inflation. And at the same time, we are going to see a lot of increase in government spending, which would also add to inflation. Now all these inflationary activities would actually make things worse in terms of running business in Nigeria, cost of running business in Nigeria.
All right, so we have a very few minutes to wrap up, just less than 1 minute. So I'm going to go back to that story I had earlier on the agriculture sector. According to this same report, shrinking. Food inflation, head inflation, at the end of the day, these things have impact. Do you think that with this story of what happened in January, would it impact the outcome of the MPC meeting later this month?
I really don't think it would. I don't think anything has ever impacted the outcome of their meeting other than the stability of the naira. Now, if the naira continues to, or if they feel like the naira is in a good position, then they might be able to at least lower the interest rate, which might be able to help the processing or the manufacturing sector that would increase demand on the agricultural outputs and maybe help the farmers to recoup their income or encourage the farmers or the agricultural activities in the country. Now, this is insecurity or security situation aside. Now, if naira continues, or if naira shows any form of volatility, then I don't think the interest rate would come down, because the interest rate being up is not necessarily, or it's not because Nigeria has inflation issues, so they're trying to suck money out of the society by raising interest rates so that they can cool down the economy. That's not the reason why the interest rate is actually high, because there's really not much funds available for Nigerians to transact with. Right. The reason why the interest rate is high is because the interest rate has to be able to attract foreign capital that would balance the naira. So literally, this economic decision. Now, look, I'm not saying, oh, okay, what they're doing is necessarily all 100% bad, because the devaluation of the naira or the destruction of the naira would also lead to more consequences on the street. Yes, so it's really a catch-22 situation. So I don't necessarily see interest rate coming down. So I don't really see I don't see really anything changing, or I don't see how this report coming out or anything happening would really make any impact or in the meeting that they would have.
Thank you so much.
That the monetary policy committee would have. Yeah, no, I don't really see anything changing.
Fast spent, we need to end the program at this time. Thank you so much for joining us on the program this morning, Mr. Shamwil.
All right, thank you very much. All right, bye.
And that's it for Business Daily this morning on Trust TV. Same time, same place tomorrow. My name is Chiamaka Nwafor. Bye for now.